Hey, Meaney, hang tight. We're having issues with the audio browser. Here, give me 1 second. StreamYard's got a hiccup.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Mean Streets here, live, powered by FTN, presented by Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you. Thanks, as always, for taking the time to hang out. We are a little late on our YouTube stream here, just having some technical difficulties, but those hanging out on Game Plus Network, we appreciate you. We always ask you to head on over to our FTN YouTube page, smash the like button. We're doing some giveaways here on this show. We have been over the past couple of weeks, and I have have a winner to talk about towards the end of this show. Going to give away an FTN Gold package. I talked yesterday about the success that some of us have had over at FTN Daily when it comes to the NHL lately. So I wanted to give away a package, and I had a lot of people send over some screenshots subscribing to this show on iTunes and Spotify, following Game Plus Network on the Twitter machine, following FTN Network on the Twitter machine, and greatly appreciate that. If you are, like I said, like I always say, if you are watching over on Game Plus, you can head on over, leave your favorite bet of the day, your favorite pick. We are still asking for your favorite pick, prop, whatever it is. It could be a golf pick as we have the American Express underway here. It could be an NFL pick, the divisional round happening here in just a couple days, right? It's exciting. We get underway on Saturday. And speaking of football, we got Drew Livingstone, producer Drew of Sportsnet, those who are hanging out in the control room in Toronto Sports Anthem Entertainment. You guys are well aware of Mr. Livingstone. He's going to drop by. The last time Drew stopped by on this show, the Bills were playing the Chiefs, and he came in here and he talked up the Chiefs, how they were going to smoke the Bills. They're talking about the defense being really good in Buffalo, but they hadn't played any good quarterbacks, so how good really was it? It's good. It's elite. The defense is elite. There's no question. They have played a lot of mediocre quarterbacks, though. But now, a lot has changed since that early matchup. Of course, this is a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game between these two teams, where the Chiefs rolled the Bills, but the Bills rolled the Chiefs earlier in the year. So, Drew's going to stop by. He is the co-host of Against the Spread over at Sportsnet, him and Cam Stewart, who has also been on the show, and we are big fans of Cam as well as Drew. So we're going to talk a lot about the Bills and the Chiefs, some props, some picks, some predictions. We're also going to dive into the other three matchups in the NFL as well. But first, before we get going and bring in Drew, I just want to talk quickly about the 3 stars in the association from last night. A lot of big-time performances in the NBA. We had Joker, who had a triple-double. We had Joel Embiid, who had 50 points, and then we had a surprise performance as well in Sacramento. Let's just start here with Embiid and what he did yesterday. I mean, 50 points in just 27 minutes last night. Pretty spectacular. You see, he also chipped in with 12 boards and 3 blocks. And, I was going to make him the first star of the night because it's just the 8th most points per minute in a game ever. Pretty remarkable, to put up those kind of numbers. ESPN Stats and Info says 50 points and 12 rebounds in 27 minutes. The fewest minutes played in a 50-point, 10-board game in the shot clock era since 1954. Again, pretty impressive stuff. And then I heard the quote after the game. He says, "At times I'm able to be Shaq and whatever or whoever I want. I'm also able to be Dirk, Kobe, or MJ." What? Like, come on, bud. Like, be humble a little bit, right? Talk about humble on this show. Yesterday we were talking about all the winners. And then last night we didn't have too many winners in the NHL, but come on, Embiid. Like, you could be Shaq, Kobe, or MJ. I mean, Dirk, whatever, but Kobe, Shaq, MJ, whenever you want. How about you get to the conference finals first before we start talking about that? But nonetheless, Embiid is having a fantastic season, and he was really good last night. 50 points for the second time in his NBA career. I don't know what else there is to say about the number 1 player in fantasy basketball, and that's Joker. As you see, 40 points, 14 boards, and 10 assists. The triple-double. He's got triple-doubles in 3 straight games. He's got 4 triple-doubles this month. Man, he's a walking double-double, but he's just having a phenomenal season, averaging 26 points, 13 boards, and 7.4 assists. And then the surprise performance from Terrence Davis of the Sacramento Kings, former Raptor in there. He had a pretty strong showing yesterday, and it was a surprise showing because, well, really, I mean, he's 9% owned in Yahoo leagues, and his ownership has jumped up 6% just over the last 24 hours since that performance. He played 37 minutes against Houston on January 16th. He had 17 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, and 4 steals, so a pretty good stat line. And then yesterday in 38 minutes, he had 7 threes, 35 points, 6 boards, and 3 assists. And why it was, I think a surprise performance, because we had, Tyrese Halliburton enter quarantine, and this is something to keep in mind when you're playing DFS last minute. You'll have same day ads in your season-long basketball leagues. You can sometimes make those last-minute changes, but if Halliburton if he does miss some more time moving forward here, Davis is a guy potentially in the DFS world where you could go back to him. But I just wanted to give him some love, because of that performance. And really, like I said, there were a lot of great performances in the association yesterday. Again, Ja Morant had another great game. Giannis had a great game. Trae Young had 37 points and 14 dimes. Luka had 41 points, 14 and 7. Like, he chipped in with a monster performance. So there was a lot of different ways that I could go here, but I did want to give a little bit of love to a surprise performance from Terrence Davis and kind of pick on Joel Embiid a little bit. You think you could be MJ or you could be Kobe? Prove it. Prove it in the playoffs, MB, but I don't want to take too much away from that performance. That many points in that few minutes is pretty spectacular. We're going to take a break. We're going to bring in Drew Livingstone. We're going to talk a lot about the NFL. We're going to lead with the Chiefs and Bills. Drew's in here next. Keep her locked. Mean Streets continues on Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on a Game Plus Network. We had a whole lot of technical difficulties earlier. We welcome in Drew Livingstone right now. We appreciate you guys who are hanging out live in the chat. I have another the YouTube video on the side. So if you have any questions here throughout, we will address them. So just a little bit different if you are watching live on our FTN YouTube page. But those watching on Game Plus Network, you're like, what the heck is going on? And who is this guy with the Bills? What do you got there? Bills pillow in the background there. You got Josh Allen. What is this?
T.O.'s, Josh's Jacks, Flutie Flakes, anything edible made by the Bills. I got it on my back front wall.
I love it. Drew, welcome in. The guys in Toronto are probably thrilled to have you, right? Glennie Mack, shout out to Glennie Mack. Drew, you do some great stuff over at Sportsnet. We've had you on this show before. We talked up your show with Cam Stewart against the spread. You guys crushed it all year long. I'm excited to get your thoughts on some of these games this week. And even though you and I are in communication all the time, I kind of know how you feel, but I want the viewers and the listeners to have a different take. They hear enough of my stupid takes. We want to get your takes in here as well. Do you remember the one time that you joined the show, the first time you joined, it was Bills and Chiefs who played. Yep. You came in here and you talked about the Bills defense. It's good. It's great. They hadn't really been tested. You thought maybe the Chiefs would roll all over them. That wasn't the case, man. The Bills rolled all over the Chiefs. I think it's Buffalo's time. I know you watch this team very closely, but now the rematch here of the AFC Championship game last year, and then a rematch of this regular season game from earlier in the year when, man, Buffalo just looked really good. But at that time, Kansas City was going through something.
Exactly.
Let's talk this out. What do you think happens here in this game? I know that you're nervous, but I know you're also pretty anxious as well. We got the spread there at 2. Drew, I know you know this. I've seen 1.5. I've seen 2.5. It just seems to bump around all over the place. I think if you just feel the Bills or the Chiefs, you should take them on the money line. But talk us through this game here.
So, listen, I love the Bills. I'm a Bills fan, but anytime you get Patrick Mahomes with under 3 points to cover, you have to take it. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. With everything in me, I hope I am wrong about this game, but the difference is, like, Josh Allen, when he's at his highest of highs, probably the best quarterback in the league. The issue is the consistency isn't at the same level as Patrick Mahomes, where he's steady. Josh Allen, you get the very, very highs, like last week against New England, and the very lows, like 2 weeks before that against Atlanta, when he threw 3 picks and his pass rating was 17. He hasn't had back-to-back weeks with over 100 pass rating since weeks 5 and 6 of this season. So It was very high last week. Are we going to get a big drop? Are we going to get him finally staying up there for the first time since week 6? It's all on Josh Allen. If you think that he's going to be consistent this week, then you go Buffalo. I can't trust it in this big spot. I haven't seen it yet. I just can't do it. I mean, if the Bills were at home, I would feel way differently about this football game. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people like yourself and a lot of Bills fans, even Adam Pfeiffer of FTN, I think he changed his Twitter avatar to the Stephon Diggs watching the celebration.
Exactly.
Is Diggs going to go off this week?
He has to. I mean, last year in the AFC Championship, he played with a torn meniscus. It's not like that's something easy to play with, and Cole Beasley had a broken leg. So, I mean, he should be looking at his phone lock screen all week. Like Diggs, every time he looks at his phone, it should be that picture.
What do you think about? So you're just. I think you're pessimistic. If you're a fan who's seen the losses before, right? You just said you haven't seen it yet before. But what I think is, man, they've just been building over the past couple years to this moment. I know 100%. That I've chirped you before about Allen in that game against the Texans. What was that? His first playoff game. They were up in that game and they struggled.
He had a receiving touchdown. Let's give him that.
Yes. But he did look like a quarterback that was playing his first playoff game. There was some jitters, and there was some jitters last year, I thought, against the Colts. But, man, he just looked like a guy against New England, a really good defense, right, that we respected all year, and he just torched them pretty easily. He looked like a guy that was like, this is my time, and he didn't even really use his best weapon in Stephon Diggs. What has made me change my tune about the Bills, Drew, is now they have a bit of a run game. They seem more balanced, man.
Yeah, it's true. Singletary, they finally were like, hey, maybe let's use one running back instead of trying 3 different guys. Like we had Matt Breida starting earlier in the season, which made no sense, which I do agree with. The issue with they have the number 1 pass defense in football, the number 1 defense overall. But if you look at their opponents, it's just like it's a paper tiger. Like it's not real. Like I understand, like everyone's like, oh, the Bills defense is so good, but really, is it? Like it's. I love their D. I love that they built their pass rush in the draft for this game alone. Like they even said, they built their team around this game. They want to rush Mahomes, but I'm pessimistic. Like you said, I mean, on paper, they should be able to do it. Like I said, it's all in Allen's hands. If Allen shows up, the Bills win this football game and they could win it handedly. I mean, every win this season, they've won by 12 points or more, which is it's on. I think every team that's done that before has gone on to win the Super Bowl. So
crazy.
If they put it together like that, they're going to win this football game and probably go on to the Super Bowl. Because I think, let's be honest, this is the AFC Championship game, right?
Yeah. I mean, Yeah. No disrespect. We'll get to the Titans. We'll get to the Titans and the Bengals in a little bit. But Tino, if you can hear us and you're all good, I mean, at any moment you can chuck up the Super Bowl odds as well, because I haven't seen a number one seed like in the Titans get that disrespected at plus 850, and then the Bengals at 15-1. Honestly, like one of those two teams are going to be one win away from being in the Super Bowl, and yet those odds are they're wild here. I guess the biggest question that a lot of people have is how are the Bills going to be able to slow down Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce? Hill hasn't been the same lately, though. But he has been a guy that's had his way.
How serious is that foot injury, Chris? That's the issue. Like, I know people are saying, "Oh, he's fine. He's fine." Is he though? I mean, Denard Robinson's getting 7 targets last week. Why is Robinson getting 7 targets if Tyreek Hill's fine?
Yeah, I know. I don't think he's fine. I don't think he's fine at all. I think, he can power through it. But we're seeing, Robinson, Mahomes is spreading it out a little bit. I saw practice reports that Clyde Edwards-Helaire practiced in full, so maybe they get him back. But, man, I thought Jerick McKinnon looked just like,
looked better than CEH.
Has ever looked, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that's
100%.
Not fair. I know CEH's first game ever in the NFL was spectacular.
Tomato.
It was, yeah, for sure. Before we move off this game, there's not a lot of props that are just out yet, but Patrick Mahomes at 1.5 touchdowns at minus 150, 2 touchdowns. This guy's not going to throw 2 passing touchdowns this week. What is that?
I think, let's be honest, if you think the Bills are going to win, which I think you're leaning, this game's going to be 37-30. If you think the Chiefs win and it's because Allen's struggling, it's probably going to be 30-13 for the Chiefs. So either way, the Chiefs are scoring 30 points, which means Mahomes is throwing 2 touchdowns. Like, I don't think you're holding them to under 24 points. Like, even if you're a very good defense, it's tough to hold the Chiefs to under 30 points.
Yeah, it is. So I have a lean to the over, though, but you feel... What do you feel like this is going to be? A shootout?
So I'm pessimistic, so I'm leaning under. Because every time there's these huge spreads like this, and everyone's like, oh, it's going to be 47-44. I saw one show predicted to be 52-49, and I was like, I might have a heart attack if that happens. So every time that's expected, I feel like we always get like the egg gets dropped, and it ends up being 27-17 or 33-23. Like, it's just, that's so many points, Chris.
Yeah, there is something to say about some of these quarterbacks that they have played. You alluded to it. I tweeted it out. I got a lot of hate from Bills Mafia, and there was there's no context with my tweet. I could have just said this Bills defense is really good, but is it elite because of some of the quarterbacks that they have played? Again, I'll run through it. Big Ben, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Davis Mills, Mahomes, 272, 2 touchdowns. You also had 2 picks, right? You kind of held them in check. Ryan Tannehill is in the playoffs, but he hasn't had a fantastic season, let's be honest. Tua Tagovailoa, you played him twice. Actually, once you had Jacoby in there earlier. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence, Mike White, 251 yards, 4 picks. Joe Flacco, 47 yards. Carson Wentz, 106 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Siemian, Mac Jones, Tom Brady, 363 and 2 touchdowns. Cam Newton, Mac Jones, Matt Ryan, and then Zach Wilson. So this defense is really good, but they've had a little bit of a cake schedule.
That's what I mean. So when you look at their pass defense, it's number 1, but then look at their run defense. Like, Taylor ran all over them. Henry ran all over them. It's just, it inflates those numbers. Carson Wentz only threw 100 yards because he didn't need to throw. It was just Jonathan Taylor that whole game. So,
so you're on the fence. What does your partner in crime, Cam Stewart, say? What does he
loves the
say?
Bills. He loves the Bills in this game.
He should. I think you should too.
It's revenge. I think I'd be more. I'd want to take the Bills more if they lost that week 5 football game. I think the Chiefs, because the Bills punched them in the mouth, they're not just going to be resting and sleeping on these guys. Like, they know, like, hey, these guys can come in here and beat us pretty good because they beat us by 18 points in week 5 in our house. So I think that hurts the Bills a little bit, as crazy as that sounds.
Travis Kelce said after they won that game, and the reporter said, was this just like a statement game where the Bills had a state? It was such a silly question, but was this just a statement game because the Bills had their statement game the night before and you guys wanted to show them? And Kelce was just like, no, it's the playoffs and we're ready to go. We know what the Bills have and we need to be ready for them. So I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. We'll move on from it. But my favorite prop in that game, guys, really is Josh Allen to throw 2 touchdowns in this contest at minus 150. It's so silly. I can't believe that you and myself and others hanging out in this show got that at plus money for him to have 2 touchdowns.
We saw that and I was like, What? Why is he 1.5? He just threw 3 against them 3 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
I just didn't understand.
Wild.
Isn't that crazy
Wild.
though? Eight straight quarters without Belichick forcing a punt against the Bills. Like, I mean, that's embarrassing on their part.
I think that just has a lot to say about this Bills team, man. I think, like I said, this is their time. I'm a big believer in learning how to lose before you learn how to win. I mean, it's tougher in the NFL, but some of these players, like, you still have that core. Like you said, you made some adjustments to get after, like a Mahomes, for example, and they made some adjustments on their offensive line, but this core has just improved, and I've seen the progress from Josh Allen.
And a good
in
stat,
every single year.
number 1 pass rush rate in the NFL.
Buddy, like, jump on, man. Jump on them. Let's go.
I was pessimistic week 5 and they won, so maybe I'm hoping a little reverse curse here. Like, I don't want to just
I think so. Yeah, I think we just have to throw your Bills and Chiefs takes out the window. Let's switch gears and go with let's talk about the other AFC game. Let's talk Cincy and Tennessee here. So Tennessee favored 3.5. If again, use our prop shop and parlay calculator to get the best possible odds. I'm seeing if you are backing the Bengals, you can get them at plus 160 over at BetMGM. You can get Tennessee at minus 170. So it's changed just a little bit, but and the total has really kind of just stayed rock solid all week long at 47. It's not confirmed yet, Drew, that Derrick Henry is going to play. I do believe he is going to play. Yeah, there's no chance he misses this game, but he is going to play with a metal plate in his foot, so that is
that's just going to make him harder to tackle.
Yeah, I guess. Just another element added to him tackling here. What do you make of this matchup?
I think this line is disrespectful to the Titans. Mike Vrabel is probably going to win Coach of the Year. The Titans, I mean, if I had to tell you, so let's see if you know this off the top of your head. I haven't watched your show this week, so I don't know if you've mentioned this. Stafford, Mahomes, and Russell Wilson this season against the Titans, how many touchdowns and interceptions have they combined for?
Stafford, Wilson, and who?
And Mahomes against the Tennessee Titans. 3 quarterbacks. How many touchdowns have they combined against the Titans?
Oh, man, I feel like that's low, but it probably should be high. 3?
It's 3. Exactly. They've thrown 3 touchdowns combined. Those are 3 elite quarterbacks. So Joe Burrow doesn't have it easy going into this football game. I think the Titans should be favored by 6. I think the Bengals are easily the worst team left in the playoffs. I think the Titans just thump them. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, because if the Bills win and the Bengals win, the Bills host the AFC Championship game, and I'll be in Buffalo next week. But I just don't see the Bengals even keeping up in the slightest in this football game.
Man, the disrespect. I mean, why won't Zach Taylor get Coach of the Year? Why can't he get it? I guess Tennessee has gone through a lot of adversity. Look at the injuries,
exactly. Yeah, like they've had a ragtag of roster, and like Vrabel led them to the number 1 seed, which people seem to disrespect. They're like, oh, they just lucked into that 1 seed. Did they? They beat the Chiefs, Bills, and they beat every playoff team there. So I mean,
they did. They have beaten some really good teams, and that's why when I brought up that Super Bowl odds board, I feel like I just don't remember the last time I've seen a number 1 seed in at this moment into the playoffs have those long odds, considering that the path would have to go through them, right? Like if they win, it's not like it's
a little evident that people are backing the Bengals, I think, a little bit this week.
So you don't believe in Burrow?
I do believe in Burrow. I do. I just trust Mike Vrabel with 2 weeks to prepare for this offense, where like
That's
if you
fair.
slow down Burrow, like they've been able to slow down some elite quarterbacks this season. Their defense is very good. It's very underrated. I think Burrow's going to be having to chuck it, and he is a little bit turnover prone. Let's not forget that. I know Jamar Chase and him just went and threw all over the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, but this isn't the Chiefs defense. This is the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, just looking at some of the quarterbacks that the Titans have faced, and I mean, they faced a lot of good ones. I didn't know that stat that you brought up, but yeah, Stafford with the 1 touchdown and the 2 picks. I just
the only one who really had a good game was Josh Allen, and they lost
3 touchdowns and 353. Yeah. Mahomes 206 and 1 interception, no touchdowns. But again, that seemed like it was early on. Mahomes, are the Chiefs in trouble? Are they even going to make the playoffs? Are they going to win the division? And that quickly, that went away as well. Is there anything else from this game that you like? Derrick Henry, he doesn't have a prop.
I will say I don't like Henry's prop. No matter what it is, I don't like it because I don't.
I was going to ask you that.
He's not going to have the full carries. And if you look at Cincy's D, they've actually been decent against top backs. They held both Eckler and Cook to 60 yards. So, I mean, the way you beat them through the air. So I like AJ Brown, whatever his prop is, it's going over.
Yeah, AJ Brown, I'm not seeing anything. Again, we're coming pretty early, guys. AJ Brown, 73.5, 5.5 grabs.
Love it.
I like 5.5 grabs quite a bit as well. You were right about Julio Jones. I'll give you that one. But there was a bet that we made the other day, which you were on the wrong side of. We'll talk about Cam Akers and the Rams in just a little bit. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Keep her locked. Chris Meaney and Drew Livingstone, aka producer Drew _ on the Twitter machine. Tell everybody what you're doing these days. It seems like you are doing a whole lot more. I mean, you're running the YouTube channels over at Sportsnet. You're hanging out with Steve Dangle all the time. Like that seems to be like a pretty fun. You guys are a fun duo, and you've been on his show. You watched the Avs and the Leafs a couple weeks ago, and you watched the Leafs choke in the third. That must have been a pretty good time for you.
It was probably the best regular season game I've watched in a long time, just because the Avalanche came back against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that just makes it all that sweeter. And we're hosting Against the Spread every week with Cam Stewart on Sportsnet's YouTube channel. So check us out. Make picks every week, and we'll have a fun Super Bowl preview show as well.
Nice. Yeah, I've watched all your guys' shows. I mean, Cam is the best, and you guys are a really good duo. Obviously, you guys know each other quite. Us three, we all work together, right? Over at Anthem Sports and Entertainment. So, I mean, the guys in the control room know that. But it's a great duo that you guys have, and I'm always curious too. What like he seems to give you some like. He grinds your gears a little bit, like not gets under your skin, but he likes to push your buttons.
He hated on me last week because I told him to go watch the Nickelodeon broadcast because I said it's pretty entertaining. He was like, "I'm not a child, Drew. I'm a grown man." And I was like, "Okay, Cam, calm down. No one's saying you're a child. Just go watch the slime. It's pretty fun."
All right, so Drew and I were back and forth. We were talking about Cam Akers before the Monday Night Football game, the Rams and the Cardinals, and you had told me that you thought Cam would have a monster game. You thought he would be a big part of the offense, and I was like, man, I don't know. I don't really know how many touches he's going to have. You're like, I'm hammering the over 30 rushing yards. He basically got there. I think he got there in 2 carries maybe, and he had a lot called back, and we had a side bet where you had said if he had 100 yards, total 100 yards, that I would pay for one of your fantasy entries, and vice versa. If he didn't, I would pay for, and it was I would pay for a league that was.
It was a bad beat.
It was a brutal beat. Are you kidding me? This guy had 95 total yards. He had 18 touches. He looked phenomenal. There was a pass at Stafford.
30-yard grabs called back as a whole.
Called back. There was a Stafford throw, which would have been a 50-yard touchdown to the house. So good on you. Let's talk Rams and 49ers. It's good on you that you were all over that. Unfortunately for you, you have to pay for the Richard Gere Invitational. We got the Rams and the Bucks here at Tampa at home -3. Total at 48.5. Again, use the prop shop parlay calculator to get the best possible odds. The Bucks had their way with the Eagles, which really wasn't a surprise, but they lost a couple guys in the offensive line. Brady was sacked, I believe, 3 times in a row. They started to get a lot of pressure on Brady. I know that Tom, man, I'll let you go here. What do you think about this game, man? I just feel like the Rams are going to really be able to get after Tom Brady in this game, which is something we haven't seen a lot since he's been a Buck.
I think the wrong team is favored in this football game. I think it should be -3 the other way, which would make me like the Bucks if the Bucks are +3. But I like the Rams +3 in this football game. Listen, Brady threw all over them last time, but Stafford threw all over the Bucks. And yes, Fournette is back. He tweeted, "I'll be playing." Yeah, sure. Okay, we'll see how much you play, Fournette. Tampa Bay is 8-1 at home, averaging 19.3 margin of victory, which is absolutely insane. That O-line in Tampa. Adding Von Miller in the Rams defense, they just don't have the same weapons. Like Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson aren't the same as Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown. Let's be quite honest. I just think Tom Brady is too. It's like he's got an arm tied behind his back. Yeah, sure. Is he the GOAT? That's debatable. It's debatable for me, not for most people.
Come on, he's the GOAT.
We'll see. We'll see if he gets number 8. But yeah, I like the Rams in this spot for sure.
You like the Rams for the same reasons that I like the Rams. This is like the Bucks defense. They got a couple of bodies back, right? Having Levante David is absolutely huge for that defense, and they're still elite against the run. I'm not seeing any Cam Akers props. I wanted to see if you would take the over on anything for Cam Akers, but I would imagine it's going to be pretty low. Against the Bucks defense, it may be like 55 or 60.
I hope they give us the receiving and rushing prop because I think he catches a bunch. Stafford seemed to look to him out of the backfield on those wheel routes, and I think they can do the same thing against Tampa Bay's linebacking core.
He's such a weapon, man. He's such a beast. We had the conversation on Monday where he should get drafted. Where do you think? I know it's a long time away from next year's fantasy football draft, but do you think you'll have him as like a top 12 running back?
He'll be at the turn. He'll be at the 12-13 turn where whoever's there, like the same spot like the Mixons and Najee Harris went this year.
We'll talk DFS at the end, but this could be a game where I think people may go to it offensively, but I don't know. I think it could be a bit of a trap to to just pick players from this game to play in DFS. Do you see it low scoring? I feel like it's going to be a low scoring game.
I don't think Tampa can score points in this football game. Yeah, they have Tom Brady. I get it. They have Gronk. They have Fournette coming back, but I can't see Tampa scoring more than 17 points in this football game, which means you need the Rams to score 31, just hit 48, and that's still under the number. So I just think under is the safer play here because I think the Rams win this game by 10 plus. I can't see Tampa scoring more than 17. So whatever their team total
10 plus. So you think a blowout? You think the Rams are going to go in and crush them?
I honestly think the Rams should be favored here, like significantly, and just they're the better football team in every position besides quarterback. I mean, if you look at what would you take on Tampa over LA right now? Like I can't think of anything.
Just Brady.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just because Stafford doesn't have the experience. But besides that, like if you put Brady on the Rams, they'd be by far the Super Bowl favorite. It wouldn't even be close.
Yeah, I can't really argue that. I do love the pressure that the Rams have been able to dial up. You mentioned Von Miller. Now he's back. It feels like he's in a bit of a groove now with him and Aaron Donald on the other side. And then Odell Beckham Jr. has 6 touchdowns in 9 games at the Rams. He had 0 in 6 games at the Cleveland. That's pretty impressive. And I agree. Like, who is going to be that second guy inside this offense to step up? I suppose it could be Gronk, Mike Evans. Is Ramsey going to follow
Probably.
Evans? That's possible, right?
You think Ramsey's going to waste his time covering Tyler Johnson?
No, I don't think so.
Exactly.
I don't think so. Fournette is key, but again, this is a pretty good rush defense. But for Brady, he's just like dinking and dunking. He's just taking what defenses give him, but he's just not going to have a lot of time in that pocket. So I have some concerns. Over 69.5 receiving yards for Mike Evans. Would you take that?
No, I can't. Well, you know me, I'm a bit of a Mike Evans hater, so I always lean under on Mike Evans props. So I would definitely go under against Jalen Ramsey.
Okay, let's finish up with this other game. I think I know where you lean on this one as well. We've had a lot of conversations back and forth. You were all over San Fran last week. We were all over San Fran as well last week on this show. We thought that they were the better football team against Dallas, and then people are talking about, San Fran got lucky in that game. I don't think so at all. I thought that they played a near perfect game, and it was just nonsense from the Cowboys at the end of that game. Just to tie it. But here we go, 5.5. Some spots are 6, Drew. I don't think that this will get up any higher. I know you and I talked on Monday. We were wondering if it would get up any higher, just waiting to jump on San Fran. Are you still on this 49ers team, knowing that it does sound like they're going to have Bosa, who returned to practice yesterday, Fred Warner. It looks like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be fine in this contest as well. We know the history with this team. They've had a lot of success against the Packers.
Yeah, I love San Fran plus the points in the spot, and it's 6 in some spots, and I think it could get to 7 by game time because I think when people see this game in primetime Saturday night, people are just going to be hammering the Packers. They're at home. They don't lose at home. But if you look at the Packers against good rushing teams, like against Cleveland, number 1 rushing team in football, they won by 2. Against San Fran, number 5 rushing team, they won by 2. Against Baltimore, the number 10 rushing team, they won by 1, and that was with Huntley at quarterback. The Packers struggle to put away good rushing teams. So, I mean, can San Fran upset them? Maybe, maybe not. But I think in terms of the spread, you got to go San Fran here just because Green Bay has been struggling, as Cam would say, against the San Francisco 49ers rushing attack and against other big rushing attacks.
Yeah, Lambeau is such a tough place to play. Clearly, like it's almost.
100%.
You got to deal with the cold, and Rodgers was on the Manning cast a couple weeks ago talking about how even when he plays there, he is just shivering, and he just said that he hopes that it's as cold as it possibly could be for the home games that he plays there, but he knows like he's dreading it when he has to play a game at Lambeau. But he also knows that on the other side of the field, that quarterback is not used to dealing with that cold. So you do lean Green Bay to win this game, but you have San Fran to cover?
Yeah, I mean, it could just because even if San Fran's up, which I think they could be, if you give Rodgers the ball back with 2 minutes left and he's down 5, he's driving down the football field to win the football game, just like he did against San Fran when they played earlier in the year. They were down at the end, and he got a Mason Crosby field goal to win it. And I think we could see the same kind of thing here, but don't be surprised if San Fran's up by like 10 at some point in this football game.
What do you think about Aaron Rodgers over 261 passing yards? Just look at the back of his football card, and it just seems like it's something that he does, pretty often, especially at home. Yeah,
San Fran's specialty is stopping the run. It's not stopping the pass. So I think if you see the Rodgers props, I mean, I'm assuming his touchdown probably 2.5. I haven't seen it.
It's 2.5 plus 155.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he could throw 3 touchdowns in this football game. It's just if you're San Fran, the formula to beating the Packers in this game is running the football, keeping Rodgers off the field. And I just think Aaron Jones, whatever that prop is, that's going under because I think Dylan is slowly taking over as like the go-to guy for Rodgers. And San Fran's very good at stopping the run. If Bosa was out, maybe I'd think otherwise, but it looks like he's going to play. So I like that to go under. And yeah, I just think don't just sprinkle on the San Fran money line. I mean, I think we both have futures on San Fran winning the Super Bowl from earlier when they were doing bad. So I think it would be if San Fran and Buffalo both win this week, I'll be very happy because there'll be some big futures that I can hedge out of.
I can't take credit for any San Fran futures. I don't. That's all you, and good on you, because that one, I mean, they're just a tough team. When you have a team that can run the rock as well as they can at this moment of the season and can bring pressure with four, don't really blitz a whole lot, but can get after the quarterback with four and then drop back in coverage. Like, obviously stopping Adams is going to be huge for them, but if they could just get some doubles on them and make Alan Lazard beat you, make all these other guys beat you as opposed to Rodgers. AJ Dillon's rushing props at 45.5 and Aaron Jones is at 55.5. I do agree with you. We talked about it on Monday on this show that Aaron Jones is one of those guys that you're going to want to fade in drafts next season, that it is AJ Dillon here. He just seems
they're going to regret that contract very, very soon. It's kind
very
of like
soon. Yeah, I mean, why didn't they just bring back Jamal Williams? I like Aaron Jones. He's a good back. He's a great pass catcher, but they could have just brought back, Jamal for cheaper, who's I think is a pretty good back, knows the system. And then I'm assuming they knew that AJ Dillon would eventually take over this offense.
Running back,
took him in the second
overrated
round.
position in football. I mean, it's so easily replaceable. You can see it on the other side in San Fran. No one thought Elijah Mitchell was going to be the starter when they used a high draft pick on Trey Sermon, but here we are.
Yeah. All right. I think we got to get out of here. But there is one more DK. I know you got like half a dozen lineups out there. Give me one player that you have in a majority of your lineups, or just one player that you think could be, doesn't have to be sneaky, just one guy that you really like this weekend.
I think you got to use Alan Lazard. He's only 4,400, 5 touchdowns over the last 5 games. I mean, I think if they're going to focus on shutting down Devontae, so I think Lazard's a good, safe, cheap play.
Yeah, that's there you go. This is something that we just talked about, right? If you're San Fran, you want to have your focus on Devontae Adams and not a guy like Alan Lazard. Looking at Alan Lazard as well, at least 5. The past 2 games have been really good, and you just brought up all the touchdowns that he's had. He's had at least 1 touchdown in 4 of his past 5 games. Drew, appreciate you, dude. Keep up the good work, man. I don't know what happened to Nathan McKinnon last night. Why did he get 0 shots? 0 shots.
I don't know, but all I know is Chris cheering for Bengals and Bills. I'm gonna throw like $200 on that parlay, so if they both win, I get some nice seats at the Bills game next weekend. That's for free.
Good luck to your Bills this weekend. I hope you do get to watch them in the AFC Conference Championship game in the bitter cold. Drew Livingstone right there. Producer Drew _ check out Against the Spread on Sportsnet. We have some NHL picks here next. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on a Game Plus Network. A shout out there to Drew Livingstone, who just can't get behind his Bills. He just can't do it. I know deep down he wanted to come in here and say the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. I know it. He's probably going to message me later on and say the Bills are going to win by like 25, but yet he comes on here and he's like, no chance. The Chiefs can't stop Patrick Mahomes and company. No, Drew's a good guy. I wanted to have him on here just to kind of, crap all over that Cam Akers bet that he made. There's a handful of games in the NHL. Dangle Betselli will be live tomorrow. Eric Young is traveling around, so tomorrow we're going to get together and we will talk all the NHL picks and props and all that good stuff. So tomorrow, look for that free over at ftnbets.com as well as our FTN YouTube page. Guys, if you're hanging out in the chat, I can't really see the comments, so my apologies here, but I am going to lead with Joe Pavelski for a shot prop here this evening against the Buffalo Sabres. I like the over on 2.5. You can get it at minus 125. And I like him to have an assist here tonight. So for Joe Pavelski, 9 shots in his last game. Now part of that had to do with, of course, the Montreal Canadiens, which we will pick on again a little bit later on in this show. But he has a matchup against the Buffalo Sabres here at 5-5 per 60, according to Natural Stat Trick over the last month of the season. The Sabres are second in the NHL in shots allowed, and they are third in the NHL in shot attempts allowed. That 5-5 per 60 from Natural Stat Trick. So a pretty good spot here for Joe Pavelski, who has had at least 3 shots in 9 of his past 11 games. And I'm hoping that he can get an assist here tonight for us as well. He has an apple in 7 of his past 10 games and 10 assists over that span as well. So we are leading here with Joe Pavelski. A couple other shot props that I like here this evening. And I'll be honest, putting together some of these boards for our guy George, there really wasn't a whole lot in terms of odds, but these are a couple guys that I do like overall that I think will pop up and that we can target and get behind. Of course, you got David Pastrnak there. He's the Mean Streets Past Special. We keep rolling with him. Why not? Like, there are guys here tonight on the slate, like a Darnell Nurse, like a Aaron Ekblad, like a Pastrnak, that we can put into our parlays, but taking them as singles, not ideal. But Pasta, you can get at minus 135. I think that's pretty good. He is number 1 in the NHL over the last month at 5-5 shot attempts and shots. I mentioned McKinnon yesterday. That was including power play time. So he's right there with McKinnon, who had the goose egg yesterday. I still think he's fine if you want to include him into some parlays on the back-to-back. The Avs really didn't show us their best effort yesterday, and they were still able to win by 2 goals. But for Thomas Chabot has been a guy that really we've kind of overlooked. I had him in our free pick tracker over at ftndaily.com. His 2.5 shot prop was live over at Prize Picks. You can get him 2.5 at Caesars and Bet365 at a reasonable price. He has cleared 2.5 shots in 9 of his past 11 games. He's had at least 4 shots in 6 of those games, and he's among the leaders in ice time. He played 35 minutes the other night. He played 30 minutes in his last game. He just, like, these defensemen, sometimes you feel like, maybe I won't go there because they're a defenseman, but when they play over 30 minutes a night, the shot attempts are going to be there. So taking the over, even in a tough matchup against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I like Shea Theodore as well, another defenseman. Doesn't get as much ice time as Thomas Chabot, but he does get some power play time, and he's certainly not afraid to shoot the puck. He has at least 4 shots in 6 straight games and a matchup against the Montreal Canadiens, who are among the leaders in shot attempts. Now, we didn't get the Habs the other day when we talked about Dallas winning by 2, but we did say guys like Sagan, who would be all over the net, he had 9 shots, Pavelski had 9 shots, and Rupe Hintz had 9 shots. I do like Jonathan Marchessault as well. He's going to be juiced. I have no problem with the 3.5. You may get that at plus money. I think you could take some shots on Chandler Stevenson, especially if you see him at 1.5. Usually Mark Stone's at 1.5. The Habs are going to give up probably 40 plus shot attempts in this game. So Shea Theodore is in there. Andrew Kopp is somebody new here that we haven't given on this show. I think last year we were all over Andrew Kopp. Kopp has cleared 2.5 shots in 4 of his past 5 games. He played 25 minutes in his last contest. The Jets are kind of depleted up front. I don't know if Paul Stastny is going to play. We know Blake Wheeler is not around, but Andrew Kopp is getting a lot of ice time. He's getting top power play time as well. 5 shots, 4 shots, 2, 6, and 6 in his last 5 games. And then Cam Atkinson. Atkinson burned us the last time we gave him on this show. He's got a matchup against his former squad in Columbus. It's not the only reason, the revenge narrative here, but the Blue Jackets are among the leaders in shot attempts and shots allowed as well. They've allowed the 6th most shot attempts at 5-5 per 60 over the last month, and they've allowed the 3rd most shots on goal at 5-5 per 60 over the last month as well. And 2.5 shots for Cam is something that he has cleared in 5 of his past 6 games, 6, 1, 4, 4, 8, and 6. Let's transition, Tino, into... Actually, let's take a break. let's take a break and we'll come back. And I got some goals as well as some picks. We'll kind of have a balance here on this Mean Street show on Game Plus Network. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. All right, let's continue to talk a little hockey here. Tino's not going to be able to join us here today. There's only a handful of games in the NBA. I'm going to announce the winner of the FTN Gold Package in the final segment of this show. Let's start here with some more props, and we'll attack some goal props here in the NHL. Actually, we'll just lead here with picks. This is all good. Dallas in 60. I know they lost the other day against the Canadians, but again, I thought that they dominated that game. They go on the road here and play a Buffalo team that only has a handful of wins on the season and only a couple on home ice here. Dallas is not a good road team, actually, but I think that they'll find a way to bounce back here and win in 60 is pretty good odds for the Stars at -105. The Colorado Avalanche to win in 60 as well. I mentioned that they won last night against the Ducks. We got them. That was one of the few things that we got right yesterday. We didn't get McKinnon over his shot prop. We didn't get Clayton Keller's shot prop. We did get Jack Hughes, and we were all over the Avs to win by 2. It did take an empty net for them to win by 2, but this is still a very, very dominant team, and they didn't really give their best effort yesterday, and they still won that game by 2 goals. We're just asking them to win against the Kings here in 60 at -120. They're going to get Darcy Kemper back between the pipes. The San Jose Sharks plus money. There's a couple, maybe, I kind of feel like the Oilers could win today against Florida, but that's a tough spot. But the fact that we're getting San Jose here on the road at +100 is something that I can get behind. I'm not a big believer in this Seattle Kraken team. I just don't feel like they're that great, to be honest with you. I don't think that they have a lot to offer offensively. They're not getting strong goaltending, and we'll get to Timo Meier in a little bit, but he's red hot, right? How can we not ride with the Sharks here at plus money? And then a parlay at Vegas, Dallas, and Pittsburgh against the Ottawa Senators to win in 60 at +329. I didn't want to go Pens on the puck line here against the Sens. The Penguins are returning home after a lengthy road trip. You hear me talk about maybe fading home teams, but I think they find a way to beat Ottawa just because they're so sound and they're playing really good. Probably the best hockey out of anybody here in the NHL to date, including Colorado and Florida. Yes, I did have a peek in the chat quickly in the commercial break here about the Habs having success against Vegas. They're 9-3 lifetime against the Golden Knights. They only have 1 loss in Vegas. If you want to ride with the Habs, by all means, I want to give you guys some winners here. +310 for the Habs. You want to take them on the puck line, not to lose by 3 goals. I've never seen this before. Not to lose by 3 goals is -140 over at FanDuel. That's one that I could get behind. I think we will see some offense in that game, and I think we'll see some offense in that Washington and Boston game as well. Kind of just like yesterday. Didn't get the Leafs, but we got the over between the Leafs and the Rangers. It's at 5.5. Vegas is telling us 2 good goalies, 2 strong defensive teams, but just 2 really good offensive teams. And I feel the same way about this total, just like I did on Monday when Boston was playing Carolina, and we got a 5.5 as well. I think we will see some fireworks between both of these teams. The Bruins have actually played the over in 8 of their last 11 games. They're not going to have Tuukka Rask in the net. They're going to go to Allmark, but Washington hasn't been the best defensive team lately either, so I am leaning with them. And then we will go to some goal props here. And you see Pasternak in there as well. The Mean Streets Pass. I appreciate you, George. Pasternak here today. He's just been scoring and he's been shooting. We talked in the last segment about the shot attempts that they have certainly been there with this guy. He does have 8 goals in this month. Rupe Hintz didn't get it the other day, but I have no problem going back to him. He's got 3 goals in his last 6. I mentioned he had 9 shots in his last game, and he had 14 shot attempts. He hit the bar a couple times as well. And then Brian Russ at +180. I think this is pretty good odds, actually, for Brian Russ, considering that Russ has 9 9 goals in 16 games and 8 in his last 5 against the leaky Ottawa Senators. And then Carter Verhaeghe against the Edmonton Oilers, also pretty leaky. That game total is at 7. I haven't seen 7 all year. Edmonton and Florida 7. I was half tempted to take the under. And I still may put that in the bet tracker, but I feel like the Oilers will bring it today. I really do. And if they do win that game, it's probably like a 5-4 game because they can't keep the puck out of their net. But for Carter Verhaeghe, playing on that top line with Barkov, he's got 5 goals in his last 5 games. And how could we not go with Timo Meier, right? At plus 172, considering he had 5 goals in his last game. I mean, goal scorers are streaky. They come in bunches. And we could get a couple more here from, against a Seattle team that since the pause, they have a sub 70 penalty kill percentage. They're allowing 4.8 goals per game. Just like I said, they're not really getting it done in net. And they've been stingy at times at 5-5, but they have given up a lot of rubber. As for Marchessault, 18 goals in the season, 4 in his last 8 games. A matchup here against the Montreal Canadiens. Like I said the other day, I think you can have some fun when you attack the Habs. We'll break, and I'm going to announce the winner of the FTN Gold package next here on Mean Streets. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the final segment. I have no idea how much time we have left in this segment, but I do have a winner here for the FTN Gold package, so we'll keep it pretty short here. I just feel like this has been a wild show on my end. Hopefully you guys got something productive out of it. We got the winner here of the FTN Gold package again. This is what is included in this package is like the NHL DFS picks. We have some, NASCARs around the corner, esports DFS picks as well. Just asking people to show me a screenshot that you have subscribed to the show, you've followed Game Plus. I got a winner here. It is Dustin Chafee. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I think I asked you one time before if how to pronounce your last name, and if I butchered that, my apologies, dude. But congratulations, man. I appreciate you. Can you see this? That is yours. I know you reached out in a DM and you showed me that you followed Game Plus, FTN, and you subscribed to Mean Streets. I saw a few others that did that as well. I really appreciate you guys. We'll give away a betting package on Monday, and I'll include those entries into that draw as well. So Dustin, congratulations. Reach back out at Chris Meaney on the DMs, and we will hook you up. Everybody have a fantastic Thursday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers.